Welcome to Fantasy Football. Football is thicker than blood, week 8. We got Uncle Joe live from breakfast today. Uncle Joe, how's it going?
Doing good. It's good to be back in Chicago and good to see the family. And I'm right here on Rush Street. It's pretty nice to be home.
Yeah, definitely. What might not be so nice, though, is your team so far. You're having a bit of a struggle in season so far.
It's tough. I tried to put my best players forth, but things haven't worked out too well this year. But I've had a good career here for fantasy football, so I expect to have a losing season here once in a while. But I still put a pretty good effort in as far as picking the players and so forth. Just hasn't turned out that well.
Yeah. Got some injuries. Obviously, Jordy Nelson not coming out. Trubisky has been playing well. David Johnson, obviously, the Cardinals' offense just hasn't been too strong. Randall Cobb hasn't been playing. Not much you can do. You are the only team to start 2 tight ends, though.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
It's more of just a comment that you're the only team to start 2 tight ends.
Well, like I said, I just try to put my best players forward, but hasn't worked out that well.
Yeah, might be able to get some value from one of those tight ends. 2 pretty good tight ends. But let's go over last week's games real quick and run down. Started. Chicken Bake beats Duke of Berkshire. Jacob Bake 114.91. Public Enemy hands Joe Ventus his first loss of the season in a tight 80-77 game. Team Bad Patty takes another hard L as Birch Lake puts up 100. Kind of a comeback game. C-Mac Attack, big win over Advods, 90-82. Sean Romano getting a huge win, 2-5. Trying to keep some type of playoff hope alive. And Yogurt Merch getting slaughtered by Cole McGanville and Cole Nate Gate 2018, 127.70. Real quick, before just looking at some standings, obviously, Uncle Joe, your team's struggling a little bit. But, other than the top 4 or top 2 in each division, we have kind of a tight race. Even Phil isn't technically out of the playoffs yet. I mean, even you aren't technically out of the playoffs yet. Bottom 4 teams
don't much make future it. For myself here, so I'm still trying to put a good team together every week to be competitive and maybe be a spoiler here and there. So
yeah, right.
That's my goal. But you never know what happens with injuries and things like that. So.
Yeah, exactly. And we talked a little bit about like who's real and who's not, pretenders and people who are real. I mean, if we go down the list, I think that Joe Ventus' team is real. I think that my team is real. I think Sean's team and Joe Romano's team is real. I think that Tony's team is real. Where we have kind of a different... I don't think Cole's team is real. I think he's a pretender. Although he kind of has embraced a Public Enemy-esque role. But his team has been performing, but here and there he puts up some big numbers. Obviously, big week against Nate last week. But and then there's other weeks where his team just duds pretty hard. So I do think he's a pretender. As well as my dad. My dad is right on the line. I mean, his team is scoring a lot, but here and there, still taking L's. I think that there are some people who are straddling the line of, is their team good? Is their team a real threat or not?
I did go over multiple teams and did a little homework, and I am in agreement with you. There's still some that have a chance to do well, and I think this week will determine some of those teams that'll go on and maybe make it to the playoffs.
Yeah. And maybe this is a research question for our market analyst, Colin. But, even if you have all of the best players at every position on your roster, are you still going to win every playoff game? It might not even happen because this is fantasy football. It's luck. Maybe those guys don't perform. So, I mean, you never know.
No, a lot of it has to do with luck and I've been lucky over the last, maybe 6 seasons and so forth. And this is just, everything's turning against me this year. Even with previous years, I had a lot of players that were either injured in the beginning of the season. Thank you. I'm having breakfast, by the way. Just here. I've got some poached eggs and some...
can we get a live look at the breakfast?
Yeah.
Can we see it?
What's that?
Can you show the
Oh,
breakfast?
yeah. Hold on 1 second.
Oh,
There we got some. I don't know if you can see it, but we got some poached eggs.
yep.
We got some sausage and
Mm-hmm.
some potatoes here.
Yep.
We're at the Marriott, by the way, and here's Jim's breakfast.
Oh, kind of a weak breakfast if
Kind
you
of looks
ask me.
like dog food.
Yeah,
But,
it does.
I guess
Yeah.
it's healthier than mine. So yeah, I'm just trying to fire up this my internet here to get all the teams in line also. So give me a second here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no problem. I mean, obviously my team is still so good. Sean's team is looking better. Joe Romano's team. I mean, a good win for him last week, but I think he won. Yeah.
Let's go over the this week's competition, and
Okay.
it's pretty good here because I get to play you.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And if I'm gonna take a team in this one, Uncle Joe, it's gonna be my team.
Yeah, well, I agree with you. I think I'm going to get beat again, unless I get lucky, or somebody gets hurt on your team, things like that. But
Sure.
any given Sunday, you just never know. But I've got to hand it to you. I think you're going to do well.
Yeah.
The guy I've been watching all year, you got the Mahomes.
Yeah.
And he's really having a great year. And how could you beat that? And the Gurley man, with those two guys, you could probably take my whole team right then and there just throughout the whole season.
Yeah, they've been having a good season so far. Waiting for them to slow down, but there hasn't been many signs of it yet so far. And hopefully James Conner continues to do what he does.
I think probably within the first half you're gonna take me. So
yeah,
and I'll take you over me for this week also.
We got Joe Ventus versus Birch Lake, Michigan Vice Fleet. Joe Bejo versus Uncle Pat. Joe coming off his first loss of the season last week. His team is still pretty good though, and I still like his team a little bit more in this game. Uncle Pat is starting Kenyon Barner, who's technically a second stringer in New England. Sammy Watkins, who usually doesn't get too much of the action from Mahomes. He's got four New England players starting. So, I mean, really banking on a New England versus Buffalo slaughter, which, it could happen. But I'm liking Joe's team for consistency here.
I agree with you. I think with Drew Brees is having a great year, and Devontae Adams, again, like you, got two players who just could break it open. I think that I'm gonna have to give it to Joe.
Mm-hmm. And he's got the Brees Kamara combination, and Kamara's obviously been sliding a little bit since Mark Ingram came back, but still a decent week last week, and playing Minnesota this week in a rematch and of the last year NFC Championship. But I do like Joe's team better here. He's got more consistency on his team, and I like his starters. Duke of Berkshire versus Dad Bods. Is this the game of the week? It might be. This is a good game. Great game. Two really strong pushing teams so far. Sean's team has kind of been putting it together big time. But Tony's got two of the top wide receivers in the league. I think this one's going to be the closest one, but this is tough. I'm going to take... I like Sean's team a little better. I do, but I'm going to take Tony in an upset.
I agree with you. I think that statistically, I think that Sean's got him beat, but for some reason, I'm going to go with Tony. I had this question. What's a Scottsdale Dad Bods anyway? What is that?
Do you know what like a dad bod is?
No.
Oh, it's like a trend, kind of like a thing going on of like guys having a dad bod, which is like basically like sit and drink beer and like having a gut, and like that's like a cool thing to have. And so I think because he's a dad now.
Yeah, but he's nowhere near that yet.
I know. It's kind of a joke, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, thank you for explaining that.
Yeah. He might eventually get there. I don't know. I hope not.
I picked him to win this week, so.
Yeah, I do too. I do think Tony's only one of Tony's big problems is his running backs, though. Kind of, LeGarrette Blount obviously not a starter. Isaiah Crowell struggling whenever the Jets struggle, and Royce Freeman, Denver not playing too well. But that Kirk Cousins to Adam Thielen combination has been lethal so far. However, he isn't starting Brady against Buffalo, which I think is an interesting choice for him. He's been starting Brady most weeks, but I guess Cousins has been thrown to Thielen so much he wants those double points. Yeah, interesting. A very interesting choice. I do like Sean's team. He's got great positions, great running backs, a lot of depth on his bench, especially if Le'Veon comes back. But I'm taking Tony in an upset.
Yeah, I think that could be the game of the week.
Okay, yeah.
I'm gonna have the first part of my breakfast over here. So
okay, yeah, you're good. We got C-Mac versus Elgin. Big week for both teams. Both teams kind of need a win. C-Mac Attack has really been trading and throwing around different combinations of lineups to, obviously we love him, puts a huge spark in the league. One of the only teams to really trade and make transitions. He's always been like that, though, and he's won championships like that. The battle of the two-time champions here. It's going to be a close one. I think.
I don't know. It looks
tough.
like Colin's putting up some good points with Cam Newton and Kareem Hunt again. Yep. I've been watching more Kansas City this year than any other team because your buddy Frank Pape is a big Kansas City fan.
Yep.
So between the Bears and Kansas City, I know them pretty well. So Kareem Hunt and Mahomes are just great this year. This points galore. So I don't know. This is going to be a tough one, but let me see what else here. I may just have to go with maybe just with El Jim here, just because their family's been a good host, and I've been enjoying the comforts of home. And actually, your bed there, Jake.
Yeah.
It's been cool up there, so
yeah.
Based on hospitality, I'm going with Al and Jim. Has nothing to do with football, but it's the truth.
El Jim's team, it's been strong. He's got, obviously, Zeke on a bye, so he's got Chris Carson in there. Nick Chubb has been probably going to get the most of the starts from Cleveland, so that's lucky that even though my dad didn't draft his team, he has him on his team. What a coincidence. Colin's team, Kareem Hunt had a huge week last week, and that really helped him out. Frank Gore starting basically off of that one huge week he had. This is tough. I do like T.Y. Hilton getting a touchdown for Colin. He's had some big weeks last week, and maybe Deshaun Jackson can bounce back for Cincinnati. AJ Green's been. I'm gonna take C-Mac on this one. I think I'm gonna differ with you a little bit in an upset. I think that my dad's team is a little better, and Colin's obviously been making a lot of trades, but I'm gonna go with another upset this week. Sean Romano versus bulletin board material. I mean, this game is a lot closer than it should be. And this is where I'm saying is I think that Cole is still on that line of is he real or is he not right now? Because if your team is projected to tie Phil's team, you're probably not in that real category yet.
Yeah, it's pretty close here with the statistics for ESPN, but this one can go either way.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure, but let me see here. Let me get back on the scoreboard.
You got Phil playing with Aaron Rodgers playing the Rams, so that's obviously going to be a tough lineup for him. But he does have McCaffrey playing Baltimore, one of the tougher defenses. Odell playing Washington, if he can put up any numbers there. This is going to be tough. I mean, obviously rooting for Phil. I'm going to take Cole in this game. Phil's team, it's been struggling all year. I don't know if his running backs play consistent enough for him to get a W.
I wish Cole well and during his season here, but I'm going to have to go with my godson. I'm picking Phil on this one.
Yeah.
So I'll go with family again here. So.
Mm-hmm. We've been rooting for Phil all time. I think Joe and I went through and looked at who has the most wins all time from our league, and I think that Joe does, or it's close. But I don't know if we've checked who has the least amount of wins for teams that have been in since the beginning, and it might be Phil's team, unfortunately. But Phil's team has struggled a little bit. Obviously, Herndon with Le'Veon not playing, and him having the second overall pick this year, and then he doesn't even play at all. That's tough. Yeah, I'm gonna think I'm gonna take Cole, but I might bite my tongue on that one after.
I wish him well.
Yeah.
He's doing good in his first season. So.
Yeah. And then we got Public Enemy, who doesn't even have a roster set up yet, versus Yogurt Merch, Nate Lanneman. This is tough. I mean, I think that I don't know if Joe wants to drop any of his players. So I don't think he's gonna. I just don't think he's gonna drop any of them. So I don't know if he's gonna start any of them. So I'm gonna take Yogurt Merch.
It's a big, I agree with you. He's got a big bye week, and those are always tough.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to drop anything either, so he may give this one up. So I think I'm going along with Nathan on this one, just because it's a tough choice even for Joe.
Yeah.
So I don't know exactly what he's going to do, but it's going to be tough just because of all the buys.
Yeah, I can't see him dropping any of these players. Maybe Calvin Ridley or maybe Devin Funchess, but even then, probably not. Maybe Tyler Lock. I don't know. Yeah, I just don't see him dropping many of them. TJ Yeldon and Carlos Hyde, though, are going to be splitting carries now. And I think James White's going to get the bulk of things in New England. Joe Mixon has been pretty good. Nate's team is looking up. I think he's got some potential to maybe make a little bit of a run there. But I just don't see Joe starting much. Also, I've been calling Joe Romano out. Hasn't been very active in the league this year. Asked him to come on the show this week, and he said no, or he didn't even respond. So maybe it's a different type of disrespect we're seeing from Joe Romano this year.
I had dinner with Joe Romano last night.
Oh yeah, tell him to come on.
Good.
Yeah.
We had some good chili and some pumpkin dessert. It was good.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, this will be a big week. We obviously have those people still fighting for those spots in the Punter Lovers division, our division. We're still seeing, obviously you're at the bottom there, but that second miss of playoff spot, that second 6 seed, 7 seed, I don't know how many, I can't count 2, 4, that 5 seed. It's still close. I think the Dad Bods and Uncle Pat are fighting it out, but whether or not Cole has a better team to beat him out there, we're still not sure. And then even in the other division, we got 3 teams at 3 and 4 right now, and Phil at 2 and 5. Phil sneaks in a win there. He's pushing into a playoff spot. I do think that the top 4 from each division right now are kind of separating, or top 2 from each division, top 4 total, are looking to separate themselves this week. But even, Joe Romano going to take an L. I think his team, he's just okay with just kind of sitting into a playoff spot. But, you got to be careful. Remember what happened that one time where he he got pushed out of the playoffs because of, sitting too many people and Uncle Pat making that run.
Yeah, I can't believe it's the 8th week already. And what do we go to, 13?
Did I say week 8 at the beginning? I hope I did.
So that's
week 13 is
moving along pretty fast. But then again, who always comes along at the end of the season? It's usually Colin and Sean. They make a big run, and then last year Joe did. Joe Romano did. So I don't know. It's going to be tough. If I had a prediction right now, I don't know. For somewhere along the line, I think Tony Calvis. That's my pick to win the Super Bowl this year.
Okay, Tony Calvis playing who?
Tony Calvis. Ooh, I wasn't ready for that one. I'll give you one. Tony Calvis versus Jake Bajo.
Let's go. I mean, that'd be a tough game. Right now, if you looked at the projected playoffs, we would play each other in the first round. Obviously, that's not how it's gonna be. But man, that would be pretty crazy. Tony's team has been good. He's got two of the best wide receivers in the league. And then obviously my team, 832, most points for. I don't know if it's the best ever for 7 weeks of the season, but it might be.
It always doesn't matter. Look at C-Mac before. He was down and out sometimes and came back, and Joe Romano came back last year.
And like we've said, Joe Bajo with the most wins in our fantasy football history, most regular season wins, and has never won a Super Bowl. Never won a Joe Sifan Bajo Memorial Trophy. So obviously, when it comes to playoff time, it's a whole different ball game. You just got to make the playoffs. But always fun to look at the stats and who's well. Obviously, I've had the best playoff, best team to win a championship ever, 10-3 season. It's whatever. It's no big deal. Most points, but Sean, that one year he had like almost 1,400 points, or maybe a little over 1,400 points, and still didn't even win the championship. So yeah, anything goes when it comes to playoffs. But we got quite a playoff race right now. Uncle Joe, hopefully your team can pull it around a little bit, pull it back a little bit.
I'm trying my best. I didn't give up. But
Yeah, and we love to see it. Obviously, Phil doing the same thing, not giving up either, and maybe we'll have a closer race than we thought maybe last week. Uncle Joe, thank you so much for coming on. Enjoy your breakfast.
I shall. It's a little cold right now, but I think I'll still enjoy it.
Yeah, hopefully. And hopefully we'll talk to you soon. Best of luck this week.
All right, Jake. Thank you. Take
Best
care.
of luck, guys.
Bye.